Go ahead,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
It's now
They got me on VC.
5:45. Call the public hearing to order. Note that all members, county administrator, county attorney, madam clerk are present. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comment concerning the amendment of the Dickinson County's floodplain management ordinance. So at this time, the podium, as well as the phone line, is now open for public comment regarding this amendment to the floodplain management ordinance. The phone number is 276-333-0357 if you would like to make a public comment by telephone regarding this amendment. And we will have the podium open, as well as the floor to any of our members to make remarks if they would like. If not, we'll leave the podium open and the floor open.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, please.
I would recommend that we have our county building inspector come forward and give a brief overview of the minor changes that are in the flood control plan. And you notice I said minor changes. There's a few changes that are there. And he will give you an overview of those changes.
Yes, sir. Mr. Drakes, please.
Just the history on our floodplain ordinances. January 23rd, 1981 is when we had our first floodplain ordinance. Then there was some changes, and we had another floodplain ordinance went into effect July 27th, 2010. So we've had a floodplain ordinance since 1981. And that's mandated to stay in the FEMA floodplain program is to have a floodplain ordinance. The changes we made to the floodplain ordinance was adding the 1977 flood elevations as shown on the flood river profiles that's attached to the ordinance. That simply means that where the 77 flood is higher than the 100-year or the 1% annual chance floodplain, that would become the new base flood elevation. And then our standard 1-foot freeboard would be on top of that, as it is on top of the base flood elevation. That's an addition that the Corps has wanted us to put in for some time. The other change, we actually had down that the appeals board for the floodplain ordinance was the zoning appeals board. And since we don't have a zoning appeals board, then that becomes a legality question. Do we even have an appeals board? So that's been changed to, I think, the planning commission board.
I want them to have something to do.
And the third change is the 50% rule. The 50% rule is when you're located in a floodplain and you receive the cost to repair your home or even renovate your home is 50% or more of the fair market value of the home, you're required to floodproof it. And a lot of places spell it out different. And the way we had it, when I asked the state, some people has theirs like that, and that would go all the way back to 1981. So every time you paint your kitchen, change your shingles and everything, it just keeps adding to that 50%. What I want to do is make it sensible and put a 3-year time period based on the value of the building permit. So when you add that deck, that gets in there, and that way we can trace it. And when someone comes in for a permit, we can pull up all their old permits and see exactly how much they've spent on their home.
So I just got a question. So if they did a roof like 6 years ago, that wouldn't be applicable.
Right.
And that makes sense to me because
Right.
the assumption for assessment on property values is you maintain your property.
Right.
So, yeah.
And that keeps people from doing 40% one year and 40% the next year. Stretches it out. And there was some grammatical changes and stuff done to it. I want to add also that the floodplain ordinance, even our floodplain ordinance prior to this one, is the minimum standards. We got the 1 foot freeboard, which is the minimum. The only thing that our floodplain ordinance will be exceeding the minimum floodplain ordinance is the 77 river profiles. That starts, if you look at your map on that, that starts about 600 feet upstream of the Sand Lake Dixon County bridge. As it makes that turn below the school and that little yellow house, it comes up to 1 foot. It stays 1 foot until you hit Lazarus Branch. After Lazarus Branch runs into it, it bumps up to 2 foot. It stays 2 foot all the way up through Sand Lake. You turn up Russell Fork River Road, you go up our little ways, and there's another stream coming into it, and it bumps up to 3 feet there. And it stays that up to the county line. Now at Lick Creek, you're at Sand Lake, you're starting at 2 feet. It's like 1.3 miles up Lick Creek that it drops below. So pretty well level right there.
Chairman, can I add, could you explain to them why this ordinance is necessary for Dickinson County and its citizens?
Well, 2 reasons. One being the Corps of Engineers are requiring us to have the 77 flood profiles, having the 77 elevations. I wanted to include the flood profiles so you can actually show somebody. It's not guessing, you know, it flooded here, it flooded there. It's not guesswork, it's wrote down, and that map comes from the Corps of Engineers. So that will clear up any confusion on that. And they'll be addressing all their concerns with the Russell Fork River and all the areas that got flooded in the 77. And the other one is, like I said, the changing the appeals board. And if you pass this, I will make an appointment to meet with that board and go over with them on the appeals process and what the state allows as far as an appeal and don't. Are there any questions?
I'm just a little bit confused. You said appeals board.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have an appeals board. Is that what you said to begin with?
Well, we don't have a zoning appeals board,
We
and
have
that's what our old ordinance called for.
Because we don't have zoning.
We don't have a zone, because we don't have zoning,
Right.
but we do have an appeals board
And the
or,
planning commission.
Yeah.
yeah.
But if you took it to court, you know, we got some attorneys here, if you took it to court and it said a zoning appeals
Yeah.
board and you're using a different board, it may cause you some legality problems.
Could you give an example of how a citizen would come in to get a permit and then how that would work, Mr.?
Okay, if someone comes in to get a permit and they're located in the floodplain, as it stands today and as it would stand once this is approved, if you approve it, we first show them exactly where they're at on the floodplain map. There's a digital map, the aerial view, you can see the houses around. I say, yeah, I'm right here. And today, we don't have the capability of saying this is how deep that is. We're working on getting some LiDAR information so we can offer that information to them. But what they have to do is have a surveyor come out and they'll shoot the base flood elevation. Usually after that, they determine that it's so deep, I don't want to build there. We also inform them that if you do build in a floodplain, we had this up Ailey Road. A little creek up through there, but yeah, there's a floodplain up through there. Their double wide was going to be over in the floodplain about 4 to 6 feet. If you're in it an inch, you're in it. So they would have to, and it wouldn't cost them a fortune. They'd have to have their footers and piers done by an engineer, and their underpinning would have to be in vinyl underpinning where the water got up, it'd wash it away, or had the proper flood openings. And I also told them, I said, but if your loan is federally backed, as in vast majority of loans, they'll require you to have flood insurance.
So I was gonna say it'd be a big deal to the lender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they had the surveyor mark out the boundary of that. And I told them, I said, if you're 1 inch out of it, you're out of it completely. So they bought a different style home, and they're 1.5 to 2 feet out of it. So that saved them having to buy floodplain insurance.
Which is really expensive.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
Then secondly, if you fail if you don't give them a permit, or you can't work with them, your role is gonna be to work with them, see if you can help them.
Right.
And if you can't help them and you deny a permit, then what happens there?
If we deny them a permit, then they can very well appeal it.
Appeals board.
Yeah, they would file a request to appeal it. We'd send it to the appeals board, and we'd meet with the appeals board. And now the old maps, are not really, they're not 100% accurate because of the elevations that they use with old maps. In 2023, when we get our new maps, they will be very accurate. So they may argue, well, I'm right here, and it's never flooded right here. The most it would take is a surveyor coming out shooting that base flood elevation. And if they're above the base flood elevation, they're out of it.
They're gonna lose their appeal.
But what we would have to do is help them with a letter of map addendum, and they actually fill out a form and send it in to FEMA, and FEMA lists it on the flood map. There's 2 or 3 in the town of Clintwood. They'll list it on the flood map that the map's actually off a little bit. So, and then they address that next time they redo the maps. In 2023, they'll come out with new maps, and that'll be based on LIDAR data that they've taken over the past few years.
So which plan are you working under now? The 77 plan?
They are no 77 plans.
It's no longer the 77.
Well,
81.
we've got
You
a.
updated it, the
yeah.
Corps updated it when?
Well, no, the July 27, 2010 floodplain ordinance is the one that's in effect today.
2010.
Yeah, the only thing, other than the board being wrong, and the 50% is the adding of the 77 flood profile.
Okay.
But this is the bare minimum, what you,
That's the bare minimum
Yeah.
plus what the Corps, the bare minimum what the Corps wants us to add.
which,
So the Corps is going to do new flood plan maps in 2020?
FEMA will.
FEMA will
FEMA
do
will.
them.
Yeah. See, like right now, they was wanting me to determine where the floodway was at Sand Lick. And I told them that that's a FEMA question. I don't determine floodways where there's not a floodway. A floodway is where the actual rush of the water goes during a flood. You're not allowed to build anything in that area. Even if you are above it, you're just not allowed to build anything unless you do a 1% rise, or a 0% rise certificate. Like I tell people, if you got enough money, you can build anywhere. You can move the river over, if you have to. But in most cases, it's just not sensible to do that. But they was wanting me to determine it and asked me how we did that. And the way you do that with a floodplain, you take the ordinary high water mark, and that's the mark. If you look along a creek or a river, you'll see a line of some trash and weeds and stuff that's laid down. That's your ordinary high water mark. Where we don't have a floodway, you can't build, and nobody wants to build down that close to the water, can't build within that area.
All right, anybody else?
could you explain to me, they're, like, we were talking Lower George's Fork, which is in mine and Shelby's district.
In when the 2023 comes along,
That's mine in your district.
some of these areas that you've seen flooding in will probably be a new floodplain area, and that'd be a FEMA decision, and you'd be fighting the federal government if you don't agree with it at that point. But they got some pretty good data to back up that one. These maps they got now, there's some areas where you know there's a hillside and it's showing it cutting through it, and you know, but the new ones are going to be much more accurate. The LiDAR data's taking elevation shots about every 3 foot on center, so.
I think the only ones I ever saw was the 77, because we used to have those in the commissioner's office. I don't know where they're at now. They may be in your office.
They've actually got them digitized now. If you was going on the old paper maps, it's very hard to say my house is exactly
Right.
right here. But on the digital maps, you pull up, it's like a Google Earth image. And you can see your neighbor's house, see the church, and say right there's my lot. So it's very easy to determine, you know, and if you're outside the floodplain, you know, we don't make you do anything but just what you normally have to do.
Are there any calls, Madam Clerk? Anybody else like to make a public comment on this? Yeah, Mr. Gates, go ahead.
I'll try to be brief. Just let me start out by saying that I'm not here to criticize the ordinance. I'm not here to criticize Chris by any means. Chris has been, county building inspector has been great, helped me a lot to understand the need for this ordinance and how it works. We're looking at doing a floodplain ordinance in Hayside and hope to get it done right away. And we'll be using a lot of this data right here and a lot of the information put forth in this ordinance as an example. I just had a question about section 1.2, applicability. It says private and publicly. How do we handle utilities?
I'm sorry, how do you handle what?
Utilities.
Okay.
Public or private utilities.
Mr. Garrix, I'll let you, if you can answer that, or Mr. Phillips.
And all this information is really just for my own benefit.
Well, sure, I don't know
I
the
mean, I
answer
need- I
either,
need to
so.
learn.
The town,
And and Mr. Gates, with all due
What
respect,
page is that on,
It's on
Larry?
the front, first page.
I don't want to hold us up. We're already going past 6:05, so if you want to get together with Chris after the public hearing, we're not voting on this tonight, I don't think, are
Yes,
we?
we are.
We are going to vote on this,
Item
so.
number
That's
16.
an area that wasn't changed
In the back.
from the original one.
Mm-hmm.
That stayed the same from the other one. So, but I can read over it and
Well, I'll tell you what,
look into it depth.
if you got any remarks on it, Larry, I'm happy to let you do that.
I do have a couple of very important remarks.
Okay.
Chairman Davis.
I think we should let him.
Since you all are going to be voting on it later on
Yes, sir.
tonight,
Yes.
I'd like to clear up a few things. I don't know if there's anything in here that designates Chris, our county building inspector, as being the floodplain manager. Is that laid out in the ordinance, Mr. Briggs?
Yeah, I'm a certified floodplain manager now,
Okay.
and it just gives a little more clout to the position.
Okay.
and all the things and stuff that-
Okay, and we mentioned the flood insurance rate map, the firm map. Here's the administrator on that. Is that similar to an ISO rating for fire, fire districts,
As far as the flood insurance
as far
cost,
as the flood insurance costs?
that's a good
The
question.
flood insurance rate maps? Who
The
determines
firm
that?
maps.
Yeah,
To
I
insurance-
noticed in here,
insurance
well,
score.
in partnership with insurance companies.
It's a federal program that does that.
Right, like State
Well, I
Farm.
know a lot of insurance, a lot of fire departments are moving away from the ISO ratings because it's gotten so political and so, you know.
what paragraph are you talking about, Larry?
That's on the third page, down next to the bottom of the page. It's item K, under flood or flooding.
Okay.
Mitch is administrator.
Then I have one very, very important question, I think. Okay, let's see, that's on page 6, under the violation. Item DD, it says if it's failure of a structure or other development to be fully compliant with the community's floodplain management regulations, a structure or any other development without the elevation certificate, other certifications, and other evidence of compliance required in section 60.3, there's not a 60.3 in this ordinance. And does that mean, it says those folks will be presumed to be in violation until such time as the documentation is provided? Does that mean that folks have been living in their house since before the 1977 flood will be in violation after this ordinance is in place?
I can't imagine that would be the
No.
case.
That's what it says.
That's not what it means.
That's a state, that section didn't change either. If I ain't badly mistaken, that's a state law.
That's a,
Section.
I imagine it's from the federal code is what I
May
imagine.
very well be.
It's in the ordinance.
Well, you have to reference the law.
Okay, well, okay. I just, to me, it would be unreal to punish somebody that's been living in their house since 1970.
No, I understand, and a lot of your towns on the river, and I don't blame you a bit for asking these questions. Good questions. And
Chris, it doesn't affect those people right now, does it?
The only thing that affects a home now is 50%. That's a federal rule as well. Once you reach 50%, what they're wanting is if you get a flood, they don't want you to build back, because you'll have flood insurance, FEMA flood insurance. Once you get that much damage, they want you to flood-proof so you don't have that damage next time.
that 60.3, Mr. Gates, that is the
Yes,
part
sir.
of the federal code, the
Okay.
floodplain management federal legislation.
Okay.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
And so
Thank you,
that's
Chairman.
what, it's not like a local ordinance or a state law they'd be violating. It would be violating the federal code. I mean,
Federal building code?
correct, yeah. Well, the federal floodplain management code.
Okay.
So if you Google United States Code 60.3, that's where you'll find that reference.
Okay, I'm trying to hurry up. Over on section 4.5, it says until a regulatory floodway is designated, so we haven't done that in the town of Payson yet.
Well, the regulated floodway is in the maps now.
Did Bud help
It's
work on
not the old corporation limit in Hayside before the expansion.
Okay,
That's the only floodway designated for Dixon County. In 2023, we'll
Okay.
probably have floodways on every river.
that's when the new maps
And that's good.
come out. All right, I think that's about it.
Hey, Larry?
Yes,
I got a
sir.
question. Did you have any complaints from anyone?
All the time.
I have too, and I'm kind of surprised.
Join
Yeah,
the club.
You know what I'm gonna,
About the flood ordinance, of course.
yeah, no, I
But
didn't,
everything else too, yeah.
no, what I mean, that's what I was getting at. I had complaints too that they
Yeah,
didn't
this-
know
this is
what
not
happened
right.
in 2006, and I'm kinda shocked we didn't get more folks.
Yeah, I am too.
I ain't heard a word about it myself, but it makes sense that you would. I
Now,
mean,
I've been
it's so
getting
hard to
complaints
understand
where
some of the
people
stuff
has
that's
got
going on.
letters from the Corps of Engineers where we're doing the
202.
202 plan.
the main purpose of this,
And that throws a whole other set of rules into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, Chris has been great, I can't brag on him enough. We talked about this a lot.
many
He's helped
people
me
get
understand a lot
letters?
of it, but I still have questions.
I don't know, Sam.
I didn't wanna
Sutherland,
say that,
Sam
that your
Edwards?
house is, you're in
Edward asked
violation
me
because,
at
You're not-
PSA about it.
especially, like if they
He
did
got
come
one.
in to buy a
It is,
permit,
it is on Lake Creek, don't
to
it?
do some renovations to their house,
That's the
and
only
then we say, well, your house has been in violation because of this ordinance.
Right now, what we do, we pull up the tax ticket on it.
Yeah.
Let's say just round off numbers, let's say it's valued at $100,000. Then if you do $50,000 worth of work, you're in fine shape. Now, you may say, my house is worth a lot more. Police will come out and say, no, that house is worth $120,000. And I want to do $60,000.
Okay, good, thank you. Well, I won't take up any more of y'all's time, but I do appreciate you listening to me.
Thanks,
Answering
Larry.
answering your questions, thank you again.
Thank you.
any calls? Any other comment? Any other remarks by members? Entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing then.
I'll make a motion, we close.
Here a second.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning the public hearings, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Public hearings adjourned. At this time, being after 6 p.m., I will call to order the regular monthly meeting of the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors. Note again for the record, all members present, along with the county administrator, county attorney, and Madam Clerk. At this moment, if we will join our hearts together, I'd like to open the meeting with a word of prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to join together here on this beautiful day that you've made. I ask that you guide this meeting and have your hand over this meeting and have your hand over each one of us as we make decisions for the betterment of the families and communities of Dickinson County. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Ron, do you mind to lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to item number 3. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the meeting, the minutes from the meeting of August 25th and August 31st? If there's no questions or amendments or concerns, I would entertain a motion to accept those minutes and adopt those minutes.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
We'll hear a
I
second.
gave Teresa one correction.
We'll hear a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. We'll move on to item number 4. I know we have some additions to the agenda. If anybody wants to make a motion that we add those that we have listed here in our.
I'll read them into the record then.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So you have your agenda as presented, but there's also a separate sheet with some attachments that will be your addendum. We need to add an item 10A. That is resolution required for the Trammell Revitalization Project. We need to add item 10B. That is an agreement with the Virginia Housing Development Authority, the Housing Choice Voucher Program. And under closed meeting, we need to add item 17B, Section 2, Code Section 8. That is consultation with legal counsel, and that will have 2 parts. A is the Waste Authority User Agreement, and B is use of probationers at the transfer station.
That, David, means we'll also
Well, and
move the other
it
things
will
to after that.
reorder item number 13. Item 13 will now drop down and be
Part of 17.
It will be voted after closed session, after you come back to open session.
Peggy, did you have any questions about the agenda or? Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve those additions.
Here a second.
I second the motion that we approve the agenda with those additions.
Motion and second to approve the agenda with the additions read off by the county administrator. Please signify by saying aye if you're in support of that.
Aye.
Aye as well. Jumbled that a little bit, I'm sorry. We'll go to item number 5, county administrator's report.
Since our meeting is early this month, we do not have our August treasurer's report yet. In addition to our meeting being early, we've also had our write-up auditors in with us last week, and we are also prepping for our regular auditors who are scheduled to be here within the next couple of weeks. What I am giving you, there was still 2 items I'd like to cover with you. The first, issuing you a handout. It is the one part of the August financials I was able to go ahead and get a part of. I know we've made a lot of issue about our severance, and I wanted to just show you where we stand as of today through the end of August. And the way you read this, the most important numbers to latch onto, there's 3 numbers highlighted in green at the bottom. The $5.7 million is your budget for the year. Your 4.794 is actually the projected number based off of the performance the first 2 months of this year.
Golly.
And so the other green number in the brackets with the 905,325, that is the current deficit that we are running in
Million-dollar
relation to how our budget.
4 million.
Okay, severance.
So what I'm showing you is coal is actually holding its own, but our gas severance, I'll give you I keep averages on this stuff over the history of as long as I could find records, and so this is the 24th year I've been able to find records on. If we closed out the year now, coal would be ranked 13th out of 24. Gas would be 24th out of 24. This would be the worst gas severance year of the 24 years. And the overall look would be 19th out of 24. So I just bring this to your attention because this is one of those key areas that when we miss the mark, it's really, really difficult to bounce back. I know that we've all been hit with requests for different things, and it's one reason why I've been holding everybody off for right now. I really think it's in our best interest to hold off on a lot of the requests, at least until we get through the December collection window. And let's see where we stand at that point. I know that's a long way off, but starting out like this has given me a lot of hesitation about trying to be proactive about buying things unless it's just an emergency. And there are things that we'll have to buy for an emergency case, but in terms of things that we would have brought in front of us for consideration, I just think that this should highlight why we need to be very, very cautious right now. So if you have any questions about this, I'll be glad to answer them. The biggest other thing it highlights is 71% of our current our coal severance is coming from Deep Mine 41. That number is much higher than it normally is. 10 years ago, your spread was, you had, 8 to 10 mines that you had some dependency on. Right now, you are very dependent just on the one mine. And so that's another reason to be a little bit cautious. If anything would ever happen there, that would be a big financial detriment to the county.
Where is that 88th Strip at?
Up Duty,
Yeah.
Sullivan Branch.
Okay, all right.
That one's actually been active for a few years.
I just couldn't place where it was,
That
because
Sullivan
44
Branch?
is going towards North Irvington High School, yeah, I knew
We
that.
changed the road up there for them.
And this is all that Intervest has paid in this year?
This really shows, and we used to consider, for those of you who knew, we used to consider a $70,000 to $80,000 gas severance month slow.
Yeah.
We're now into months where we're seeing 30s and 40,000s in the severance. It's just the market conditions have left them to where they're not tapping the resource, and so there's little to no severance coming from it. If you look at the bottom of the page, under that thing that says 12-month projection, that would show you if our current 2-month trend goes the rest of the 12 months, we won't even collect $500,000 in gas severance.
That's just market.
Yeah, and the thing about gas severance in particular, it can really fluctuate depending on market conditions, but there are not a lot of trends out there that show much that's going to change in terms of that. Even the Pennsylvania fields are off from what they used to be, and that's sort of where a lot of our business and numbers went to when it left here. So, no good news on that page.
No.
The other page I'm going to hand out to you is, this one.
Oh.
Yeah. This is, I've been asked about giving an update on where we stand with CARES Act. CARES Act has become almost like a full-time job. Mr. Phillips alluded to the fact we talked about something COVID or CARES Act related at least multiple times a day. We did get our second round of, it's actually our second installment of the same money that came
We get
at the very end of August.
two?
We got that transferred to our bank account.
It's stapled.
So we are earning interest on that. We have made 3 small disbursements out of there, which was all for supplies and PPE, mainly because I'm trying to take some of the drag out of the general fund right now, because we've been paying those from the general fund, and we still owe ourselves a reimbursement of the things that we've paid from March through the end of August. But from here forward, we're going to try to pay all of our CARES Actable bills out of here, just so that I don't continue to have to reimburse myself. It's become very hard to keep up
So
with.
as a total, we've gotten about 2.2 million.
No, we only got 1.2 million.
That's what I thought.
Well, you had 1.2 at the 1st of June, you got another
That's what I thought.
1.2 the end of August.
Oh,
so
okay.
We ended up with a right at 2.5.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
that's
why I
one
was
point two.
asking.
Well, finally some good
Four
news.
nine eight.
So
we're
that's
supposed to
why
get
it's
two
very
payments.
important, because we scheduled the workshop for next week, CARES Act, and I don't want to go too in detail tonight, just because we've got a lot of other business, but Tuesday, we've got some CARES Act things we need to look at, some expenses, some requests that have been made of us. The ones that you see listed here are scheduled to be, the ones that don't have a check number beside of them, those are scheduled to be paid, and those are reimbursements that I owe agencies around. Most of those are for cleaning supplies, PPE, the school, that is for some unemployment claim, and also for a portion of the Chromebooks that we bought for them.
Can I stop you on that particular piece, David? Because
Go
wasn't
ahead.
it discussed, I believe, in our budget cycle, that the unemployment costs approximately at that time were going to be about $60,000 for them? So now we have, as of today, given the school system $150,000.
We haven't written that check yet. The way that check is split, 90,000 of that was unemployment claim, and 60-some thousand was for Chromebooks.
So it was
There
30.
is a split on the last page, the one that looks like a matrix.
Have we gotten like,
There's this page, the one on the long legal sheet. Because see, I have to report all of these expenses quarterly based on categories. If you look under Dickinson County Public Schools,
92,000?
the 92,900 was for unemployment claims. And which, the reason that got bigger is because we picked up another quarter before Larry and I were able to finalize the discussion.
Have we gotten like a thank you email for that or anything?
From Mr. Barton I did, but not from anyone else.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and then the 57,000.
we don't have to do
is
that,
for
though.
Chromebooks.
Right, I mean, this board has instructed you to help them with
I'm
that.
doing everything I
All
can
right.
to help every agency.
No, I agree, I
I
want
know
to.
you do, I know you do.
I'm just pointing out the huge amount of money.
I thought their 700,000 that they got was going towards Chromebooks.
They
It
did.
did, but they, and I asked Larry, and Larry showed me where they expended all that. Because some of theirs also had to go to some, like, I'll call them
That's coming.
network or server
Oh, okay.
upgrade. Because see, we're gonna be doing the same thing. We actually are upgrading our servers both here and at the courthouse with this money, because we need to kind of enhance some security things, because we're having people who telework, so that creates an outside entry into your system. So there are some things that we're having to do to be able to accommodate that. Again, these checks won't be dispersed till the end of the month. So what I really want to give this to you for you to try to absorb it. Nothing will go out before we meet again on Tuesday. So if we have questions that we need answered or more detail that you want to see, that can be covered before these checks go out. Because we're not releasing these checks until October 1st.
Well, I guess, David, and again, I don't want to get off on the wrong foot with anything, but we've seen the big new Tahoe out there. What sort of went into that?
Well, when this first came about, Richie's sitting back there. He was put in charge of being the county contact, having to go and pick up all of our supplies. And Richie, you can help me here. I don't know how many trips you made to Marion. You know, we were working with BDM. We've been working with all of our state and regional partners. And the issue came up that Richie does not have a vehicle.
What was that red truck he usually?
That is an old truck that we bought off the Hayside Fire Department, which was supposed to be just an emergency response vehicle. That vehicle is extremely expensive to maintain.
Fuel-wise
and keep.
or whatever.
Well, it's well, he can probably tell you better than I can, but
Oh, big
it's a
vehicle.
difficult, it's not a day-to-day vehicle.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit shocked. I know you had mentioned that, but I thought
Well,
we had said
because
we
we
were going
chased
to.
it with VDM for a while, because I wanted some guidance and some clearance. And so we explained to them what we were having to do. He was he was signing out one of the county vehicles we have here to sign out to take it all the time. But see, when he was bringing the supplies, he couldn't leave them in his vehicle to give to the fire and rescue people. He was having to bring them back and store them here and then transfer it. So we were wasting a lot of manpower and time. So we explained the situation to VDM. VDM told us, we can't give you clearance, but that seems like a very appropriate use because Richie has been the one running supplies to all the fire rescue agencies, to the DSS. I mean, anybody that's needed something from us, we've had Richie being the one doing supplies and PPE. So this gave us an opportunity to get the day-to-day vehicle for him.
And I guess what the reason that, and
Or is
again,
Caldwell Chevrolet?
I'm trying to choose my words carefully,
I
but
believe, is that one out, is that out of Texas? That ended up coming?
the Tahoe.
Well, you wouldn't believe how difficult it is, and that Jeremy's not here tonight. It is absolutely impossible to buy vehicles that have what we'll call a police type emergency service package with it. They are different than the vehicles that you would buy like for yourself. And we have just, I mean, we spent almost 8 months buying the last 2 sheriff's vehicles that we were able to buy. It took us that long to be able to find stock. We normally buy them through Johnson Chevrolet. We ended up going through state bid procurement for the sheriff's vehicles, and then he was able to find these through a VDM list. So
vehicle-wise, how many have we
So then
bought?
you purchased a sheriff's
Just that
vehicle
one?
too.
well,
I think
and
no,
I
I think
told
it's just how
I
it is.
told Jeremy that we also
They're
talked
proposing
to
to.
the Sheriff's Association and some other folks where he has had to make some changes to his staff and so to some of his, I guess we'll call them deputy schedules. They were transferring vehicles between people a lot, and we were trying to help alleviate that a little. He needs more than one vehicle, but as you can see, we can't afford it, but they thought under CARES Act, we probably could justify the purchase of one.
We have some requirements from the towns too, don't we?
I've got all kinds, and we'll need to go through those. I'm hammered with requests. Yeah.
So we actually haven't written a check for these vehicles yet.
Well, the
One
only
vehicle,
one-
right?
The only one that we have is the EMS one, and that is scheduled to be paid, but the check has not been written, but it's due to go out the end of the month.
I think where the confusion is, David, the second page, it says sheriff vehicle, but it is a sheriff vehicle, but we bought
Well,
it
if
for
you read at
the
the top, it says committed funds, which are things that I have discussed with people. And
Maybe
besides
five.
sheriff
Maybe,
vehicle,
okay.
it says 49,000. That was a quote that we had, but I told him that we needed to have more than one quote before I could do it. I mean, I still have to follow procurement with this. So nothing's been done with that
The
because
second page of
I
this.
don't have enough done procurement wise to be able to buy anything.
So-
Well, that's, I guess, where I'm at with it. If we can buy that, then I would hope we might could buy each deputy. I mean, some of our deputies are driving clunkers. I mean, I would hope we could help
Well,
them out.
It ends up at the end of the day, what can you justify? It has
And
to
I
be-
understand
it
your
has to
argument
be a
there.
COVID response, and we chased this with VDM for weeks just to try to explain sort of what we were dealing with. And, you know, as long as Richie is being required to go pick up supplies and run and distribute them, it made no sense
PPE.
to either have to run the red truck, which cost us a fortune to run, or to have vehicles and then trade things off, you know, here. I mean, we've changed his warehouse location multiple times just because we continue to try to keep things on hand because we don't know what the future is going to look like.
I guess part of I'm not necessarily disagreeing with any of your analysis as far as the need or the justification for the CARES Act. We had brought up, or I did, I know we didn't really vote on it, but I know it was discussed that any major disbursements, you know, I would say $53,000, we would like to have a little bit of input about it. So I'm a little frustrated on that end. I'm not disagreeing with sort of what you're saying, but I am sort of taken aback that $53,000 was spent of this and none of us knew about it. So going forward, I particularly would like, and I know we got the workshop and you're trying to do that, but I specifically brought this up, and then there's a $53,000 expense that we didn't know anything about. So, and then we got deputies working the road in junk cars, fussing at me. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I can, you have to go back and look at the regulations of this grant funding. There are two very important points in the grant funding that the board has to be aware of and the public needs to be aware of. these funds cannot be used for anything that you want to buy.
No, I know, it's gotta be
Yeah,
COVID
yeah.
related. I
Two,
understand.
it has to be COVID-related, which means there has to be a justification that you can quantify as a reason why you want to spend the money. And I understand your concern about deputies, but you can't supplant the budget with the COVID money. In other words, you can't take the COVID money, put it in the sheriff's department, let them buy 10 vehicles.
That's not what I'm saying. What
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying
know.
is, we need to have the opportunity to explain that to the deputies.
Yes.
And us have input as to when a $53,000 expense is gonna be made. So that I'm not taken aback when the deputy does say, well, how can you buy a $53,000 Tahoe for somebody picking up masks, but I'm working the road, answering calls at 3 o'clock in the morning? And so the reason that I'm frustrated is I understand the analysis and the restrictions on COVID money. However, this board is responsible for dispersing that money. And I, as an elected person, would like to know when $53,000 is being spent. I don't think that's unreasonable. And that's what I'm saying.
I understand.
I agree with Josh on that, and,
I guess what I was trying to do is to make sure your deputies know
yeah,
that may be listening, or hopefully the sheriff is listening and can tell his deputies, is that we can't go out and buy 10, the funds is not there, we can't use it for that, and they may not understand it, but the sheriff needs to explain to them, or have us explain to them, that we can't supplant his budget with COVID money just to buy
And
10.
I don't think that's even what they expect. I just want to be able to articulate that to a taxpayer or deputy or whoever it may be as to what we're doing and have a little bit of
well,
input
he's
in it.
gonna be seen driving up, I'm sure, to some floods, FEMA, and they can't get FEMA to help nobody hardly, and with the big Tahoe, riding up the big Tahoe, I'm gonna say, it don't look too good sometimes. But I understand like Josh, I understand, but I also, have you hired people in the registrar's office under the COVID Act?
I know, they have their own money, and everything they've done has been they're a constitutional office. I don't do anything with them.
You don't have anything,
I
okay.
have nothing to do with that.
Well, approximately how much have we spent thus? Don't we have to give a certain amount of it back if we don't spend it?
Well, that's what
Give anything back that you don't spend, yes.
How
We're
much have
gonna
we
discuss
spent
this
out of
at the
that
workshop.
money?
and we are,
Where is
but
it?
I wanted to go
I
ahead and
guess
bring
it's
this
all
up.
these total
And
fair.
you're right.
Well,
That's probably the
he
better-
knows approximately how much money we have spent of the CARES Act, how much?
We've written 3 checks totaling, about $10,000.
That's all?
But we've made these commitments.
And then these others are agency commitments that have already been made. There's detail on all those. From what I'm hearing, you want to see all of the detail, which is fine, because honestly, I would rather have somebody assist with this rather than this being on my head.
You said that early
This is,
on.
this is not easy to do.
What's requesting
And
garbage
honestly, I
truck? How
thought
can
that
they
we had
justify
an
garbage truck?
understanding that we were looking for an EMS vehicle.
Even before Corona.
No, we actually did, well, we've always needed one.
That's what I'm saying, I mean.
But the crisis of having to travel and get things all the time, and the added importance of all that, plus the fact that we're helping out, all of our agencies, I felt like it's justifiable, and when we procured it, there were only 2 options that we could find anywhere. One was in Texas and one was in North Carolina, so I thought, again,
I want to be clear that I don't disagree with you
well,
analogizing the need of PPE to a need of a V. I think that's good. I'm saying I'd like to know about it. That's all I'm saying.
and I did discuss all of this with the sheriff. The sheriff knew, whether the sheriff
garbage
asked any of
truck?
that,
How
because
can
I've
they
worked with the
use-
sheriff multiple times,
Get a
getting them
garbage
CARES
truck with
Act
that.
stuff. We've discussed vehicles, we've discussed, they got a grant for laptops. We're doing some stuff to support that work, so that they don't have to come in the office, they can do their things while they're
How
in
about
the
this
car.
garbage truck? How can you
This is all,
What is it?
I would just say this is extremely
$224,000?
difficult, it's another full-time
items
job.
for
I understand.
consideration?
No, I understand.
Where's it at?
Let's move on.
Second page or
Garbage
I
truck.
feel like in this world,
There's
before
items
there's
for
anything you do,
consideration.
even if you don't.
Always.
No, you took
garbage,
advantage of the
requested garbage truck?
Is there anything else?
What I thought
We're
I
gonna
should
have to buy one.
Is there anything else, David, on your report?
Not
Who
on that,
requested
I'd
that?
ask you to look this stuff over.
I
We will be
guess that-
talking about all this on
Since
Tuesday.
Clintwood,
And,
Clintwood.
we'll,
Clintwood?
That's the town.
you'll
Of the
understand
town.
a little better.
they
as we have time
requested,
to
or
talk about
can
it.
we get that under COVID?
Anything else?
Thank you, David.
Thanks,
Wise
David.
County's buying all
I understand.
new fire trucks, rescue squads.
So do we need a
How
move
about
in
like- I
second
heard about
on number
county
5, the
trying to use all their
county
cures there for
administrator's
broadband.
report?
Well, I didn't really.
Or
give
do you
any-
need to
I
go
didn't
over
realize
it?
I
We
didn't
could do
give you
that?
really
Can't
anything.
we
We'll actually do our
spend
August
more of this money on
report and
broadband?
hopefully
Yes, that's what
September
you're
and
gonna be
October,
discussing
so
this.
Absolutely.
You don't have to vote anything on what I
Do
gave
we
you.
need to make a motion to table the report or voting on that report until September's meeting then?
I'm
I mean,
comfortable with
October's
accepting the
meeting.
report. I mean, it is the report.
Well, I mean, if you want to just accept what I gave you, that's
Yeah, I
fine.
mean, that's what
You
I-
just did not include your
Either
August
way, or you
information.
just wait till he's got the official.
We don't need to vote on this, you just gave it to us for information,
information.
correct?
I
Help
expect we'll
educate.
know more next week, Lord, right? We'll
Yes,
know
we'll
more
go
next.
in depth on all that stuff.
All right. Moving on then, and look, there's nothing else, on Mr.
No,
Moore's
I'm done.
report. Okay. Move on to item 6, expenditures.
There's no questions, I make a motion, we, approve that.
David, is there anything?
I didn't have any issues. I've
Okay.
been asked a couple of questions by you guys. I had forwarded you answers to all
Yes,
of
you
them,
did.
so hopefully you're all good with that.
I second the motion.
All those in favor of, or there any further discussion on expenditures? Hearing none, have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the expenditures, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Item 7, roads. I guess I'll start with Ms. Willis, just coming down the line. Turn the floor over to you, I guess.
I don't think I have anyone in the audience from Kennedy, but I call in several every day. And my biggest concern right now is getting some pavement done. And they are gonna pave some.
Anybody from the Kennedy, have a road issue?
Don't
Is that
have
it? Is that
anyone
good for you,
in-
Ms. Willis?
That's all.
Okay, Clintwood, Ms. Sluss?
Anybody here from the Clintwood District? I went out and looked for the road today, Snowball Hollow. You said they were gonna pave some?
In my district. I don't know about yours.
You don't know about mine? But I'm surprised they said they was gonna pave. Rita's Lane is proceeding, looks great. I mean,
They're gonna do.
they've enlarged
Dr.
that
Ralph
road
Stanley.
and, widened it
There's
and,
a lot going on with that one.
yeah.
Should be wrapped up.
They're ready to pave, I would
Yeah,
think.
they are.
And I'm real thankful for it, but that was David Perry who got that. And I make sure all the residents know that. And but I'm appreciative of it. Looks great.
He worked hard on it.
It looks great.
Is that it for you?
Yeah.
Ms. Kaiser? Anybody from the Irvington District?
Larry is the only one in Kevin. I've had a few calls, not many. I went out Sunday, went to Frying Pan, Priest Fork, Indian Creek, Sullivan Branch, down Lick Creek, out traveling, looking at roads, taking some pictures and, trying to get some things submitted. Some places is worse than others. Some places, people think theirs is terrible, and you look and think, well, where's it bad at? But, that's what they want, so,
I haven't had any, but I do wanna, and I'm glad it's in there, that you have is it yours, Shelby? There's a study that you requested in here?
I did.
Did we ever hear back from the one that I had the gentleman come to?
Route 80?
I would say we need to send another official letter requesting.
I had that
Some-
same question.
You
Guys, you'll have DDOT in front of you next Tuesday morning.
Well, it'll work then.
Bring that up.
It'll
then.
work then.
Bring it up.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
have a
agree.
letter to submit it to him in hand that day.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to have a letter, and, cause they owe us an answer.
It's resolution.
That was, I
Yeah.
had that as a question. To
Yeah,
ask where was
yeah.
the sand lick?
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah.
That was,
VDOT man's
and I
gonna
don't
be
know,
here
is there
next
anyone
week.
out there? I don't
The
see
VDOT
anyone
man's
Sand
gonna be
Lake
here.
out there, or
Twin
if you know something.
Twin
Sand
Summit.
Lake.
Ron,
Twin.
Teresa said she sent in your resolution
Back
for
when
that.
y'all adopted that, we have, a copy of the resolution. that
Oh,
was
I
sent to
understand.
VDOT.
I know you did. They know about it, but I pinged them about a month ago and they still haven't.
They
got
are
an
working
official.
from home.
I know they have.
Mhm.
I know they have. Harmon's been dealing with this COVID thing pretty heavy.
Yeah, he's working from home.
Tell you what we'll do, we'll take our PDF of that, we'll resend it to the guys that are gonna be coming on Tuesday, and just ask them, we'd like to have some type of response on that. when they
Yeah, just,
Yeah, we'll trap them in here
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Actually,
We'll
I
lock the
think
door.
they
Yeah.
moved Joey Mullins used to do that.
yeah, it is.
And I think they moved Joey up and someone else has taken that.
Okay.
But we'll re-forward that to the guys that are coming Tuesday.
That's all I have.
What was that road name that he was talking about at Sand Lake for that? Because I tried to watch for that road name when I was down through there Sunday.
Well, and I guess
But I
I'll say if
couldn't
you want to.
remember.
It's the actual highway.
Yeah, I know.
Route
And-
80, yeah.
Yeah, and here's something that he mentioned, and I did call this into him. At his property line,
Mr.
Is-
Breest, isn't it? Yeah.
Mr. Breest,
Yeah.
he's got a town sign that's been sitting, laying in the ground for 2 years. So I brought that up to their attention and stuff too, because that would kind of imply that the 35 should be at least there. I would think, because it's usually.
In the
when you-
corporation.
and not in all cases, usually when you get inside town limits, the speed limit drops to 35. But anyways, that's.
Ooh, I was
we'll get
driving,
that
I don't know what I was
on.
doing down through there.
Anybody from the Willis
What's that?
District?
I said, I was driving, I don't know what I was doing down through there.
Well, one side of the road down there further is yours.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything on their roads they want to talk about? Okay, if not, I'll go on to item number 8, the Sandy Ridge Rescue
I
Squad.
don't see any of them.
I don't see anybody either, Miss Willis. I was wondering the same thing, but
They had requested to be here, but I don't see anybody.
Stay online. Double
Uh,
check on that.
If they're
Possibly.
listening, you can encourage them to call, or we'll reschedule them for October if they still wanna come.
Wade Fields.
Shelby, I'll defer to
Um,
you if you want to make any comment on that. That's your
They
district.
put something in here, in the request. Stop the bleed.
I think they just wanted to make a presentation the way I
I
read
think
the
they wanted to
email.
make a presentation. They may have got called out or something.
Well, we'll accommodate them later on. Is
Okay.
that all right with you?
That's fine with
All
me, yes.
We'll move on to item number 9, public comment. We'll read the phone number. If anyone would like to telephonically make their public comment to us, the number is 276-333-0357. We'll be happy to accept your public comment by telephone. At this time, the podium is open. If there's anyone here that would like to make a public remark. Are you Miss Davis? Good.
So I'm here in 2 capacities, one personal and one professional. Personally, I noticed on the agenda, well, actually, Ms. Kaiser brought it to my attention when we had met yesterday, that the Dickinson County Soccer League, there's an item on the agenda about the lease. I'm assuming the lease is up for renewal. I am the transitioning president of the Dickinson County Youth Soccer League. And we didn't have a spring season and we didn't have a fall season because of COVID. So we didn't take any registration fees. We didn't do anything with that. But this is a good opportunity for me to mention, and I had talked to Josh previously, but things have been crazy and COVID's kind of consumed everything. But I'd really like to relocate that field. We have outgrown the field. It's not easy to get into and out of. Our older teams host teams, like we travel and then we bring them in. That's a one-way path. If somebody's trying to come out, it just stops everything. But my biggest concern with that field is there's no cell service. If we have a child that has a severe asthma attack, gets stung, has an allergic reaction, or like we had 2 or 3 years ago, they were playing a game and a little girl broke her ankle, we had to have somebody drive down the road to call for EMS. So You know, she was okay. She suffered a little bit until they got there, but somebody who's having an asthma attack or allergy issue, they may not have that time. So we need to relocate it.
It's down in Pound River, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I know
We're
me
very
and
grateful for the field. Don't get me wrong.
Well, I've been
I'm not
going there for
criticizing.
6 years. And
So, you know-
I bumped up and down that road and walked through the mud and the
Mhm.
creek because I'm taking my nephew there to, he loves soccer. Is becoming a really good sport for children to enjoy it. And I'm getting so I enjoy it. I didn't know anything about it.
I've coached my son since he was 5. And so I've kind of grown. I didn't even know. I knew nothing about it.
I didn't either, but
I
I'm
didn't.
learning.
So I've learned.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can't even get food vendors to come down there because there's no
Yeah.
power. We can only practice in the fall till it starts getting, dark. And, anytime it rains, it might be fine out here, but flooding down there. So, we
No
have to call
cell
practice.
service, like you said.
Yeah.
No cell service.
have you
At one
talked to the
point-
town of Clintwood about the football field? To me, that would just be an ideal location. I don't.
And it would be, and I'm not dismissing it. I'm
Uh-huh.
open to any options at this point. The problem with the football field is we have spring and fall. Well,
Yeah, I know you
fall,
told
we're
me
gonna
that.
compete with Little League football, and I don't
Well,
want to displace anybody.
Excuse me, I understand that the football coach at Ridgeview has said that the Little League will be playing at Ridgeview. Is that true?
I don't know.
Do you know, David?
That's been stated, but again, with nothing going on, it's
Right
really hard
now.
to determine,
Right.
it's really hard to determine who's
A
going
year
to
or
be
two
doing
ago,
what.
Jason was trying to move that. Compton?
Yeah, he was.
Well, Peggy and
I
I
don't
talked
remember
about
where.
this field out here, but David said something about liability, which,
Well,
this would be a good
this
field.
Didn't you
out
talk to
here is
Mitzi about that?
Smaller.
Did I dream that?
I've mentioned it to her, and we have liability insurance, which
Mhm.
is, I think, the issue with this lease. Every September, we prove that we've paid for liability insurance to cover, if anybody gets hurt or anything like that. But with no registration fees,
Mhm.
there's no money to pay for liability insurance. So I don't want the lease to just expire. I don't know what we need to do if that's what's happening. Because we do intend, with all intentions and purposes, to have a spring season. Hopefully, all this will have passed and we can, restart like with football and baseball and everything else. So, I don't know what needs to be done, but I don't want I don't want to lose our opportunity to have the sport in the county,
either.
because it is a great alternative to those kids in the spring who don't like baseball and those kids in the fall who don't like football. I mean, in the spring, we have upwards of 120 kids that sign up, and in the fall, we do lose some to football, but it's still upwards of 70 to 80 kids that sign up. So it has grown, but I just don't know where we can put it. I've thought of a couple different. I've thought of this field out here. It's perfect size, paved parking, handicapped accessible, not wading through mud to get to the field.
Maybe you could use the bathroom back there too.
Yeah, if it would be feasible, but if not, we have facilities down there that we could move. That would
Porta
be another
potty,
thing we'd have to discuss. I don't like them, but
I don't
we
either.
have them. Some other sites that I've thought about is, there's Ridgeview, the Ridgeview campus, but size of the fields, we'd have to spread them out. We'd have to have, one age group here, another age group here, another age group here, and that makes it a little bit difficult when you've got parents with multi-level aged kids. I don't know who owns the old Clinchco Elementary School property, but I drive past that daily. I've looked at that. So I don't know if that would be a potential
School
site.
board does.
School owns it, right?
School,
As
Dickinson County School owns.
As
That's
of
what I
now, the
thought.
school board owns it.
Yeah.
However, I kind of just
County on it.
keep people a little in the loop over the years. That where you currently are is a core property. It belongs to the Corps of Engineers. We lease it. It's operated as a rec area. It used to be multi-purpose, but probably about the time I first started, soccer sort of caught on here. And I know Dr. Abraham was involved with it, and there were several other people involved in it. And we sort of makeshift converted that into a soccer field. I think there's always been a greater vision, and the county, of course, in 2015 took over ownership of the Clintwood properties, so we've kind of utilized those with baseball, softball, but there are things in the works that could change all that. I think it's important, and we have already opened the dialogue, but I think it's important for people like you to go and talk to the town of Clintwood, because the town of Clintwood has expressed some interest in having like a recreation park.
I'll tell you where the best place would be
But
temporarily, Longs Fork Elementary, where DSS is.
And-
There's two
but-
huge
but
fields
there are-
back there.
but he brings up a good point. In the short term, I think there are some pretty good options.
still service
Long
there either.
Fork property,
Well,
got
true.
some, it's got some good potential there, and then it probably needs a little bit of cleanup back in that back area.
Cell service was
Cell
bad.
service will still be a spotty issue there. I think
think
it's
you can
worth
coordinate.
dialogue with
Huh?
the
Is your girl play that?
school board as
Mm,
far as the
Ryan
old
plays
Clinchco,
That Wi-Fi.
down where the
No.
elementary
Wi-Fi,
school
yeah.
was. And we're not sure, the county may try at some point to get that property, and I know we've talked to the mayor about several things, but, you know, trying to re-centralize some of, especially these type leagues, would be a big benefit, because, we did have a problem with, there was a Hayside League at one time that was doing soccer, and then there was the Clintwood League, and there was a whole battle about that. I think Mr. Phillips probably remembers us going through that. And again, you talked about the Ridgeview campus. I'm not real sure how open the school has been to allowing rec leagues to come and have things. So I think there's a commitment here. We know we need more green spaces. You know, with some of the priorities I've heard this group talk about, community centers and green spaces. Well, part of being green space is having recreation parks where you can do soccer, and hopefully maybe if you can host events. We would like to get to the point to be able to see that, but I think at this point, it's fine to talk to all the towns. Talk to the town of Clinchco, talk to the town of Clintwood, talk to Hayside. Hayside doesn't have as much in the way of probably land that could be utilized, but the others could. And sometimes towns are available for grants the county can't latch onto. I know there's a lot of recreation grants out there, but you got to find the right niche for one. But I agree that property down at the river is not. I mean, my kids played down there, and I remember what it looked like then, so I can only imagine what it's like now. And, you know, it is a low-lying area, so if it's been wet, it's just a mud pit. What I would say about us, to kind of wrap it up, is yes, there's a lease that was going to be re-upped with you if there was an interest, but we weren't even sure who was still in charge of that. So you've cleared that up for us. There is not another party that we would work with
Robin
to do
Davis.
this. So you know, as far
I
as
don't care
if you're
to talk-
committed to
I'll
a
talk to
spring league, I think then that opens the
Mr.
dialogue
Baker
for us
about
to
it.
try to work over the next 6 months and find a home for you.
Yeah, anything we can do will help.
I have talked to Donald Baker about the sports complex stuff. Of course, they're interested in it, but they don't have anybody that writes grants for the town of Clintwood. But I don't care to approach him about the soccer being used for the football field. I don't know, if they're not gonna play Little League football field, Little League there, then why can't we play soccer there?
Right.
And I had heard that they were gonna have to play Little League up at the school. Now, that's something I don't know, but I don't care to approach him to ask him for the soccer.
No
Ms.
politics
Davis,
like
and-
Little League football in
think it's
Dickinson
a
County
wonderful-
politics. I mean, it's,
It's
Yeah, I
worth,
don't want to get
Lord.
into that battle with Little League football.
No,
No,
but
I don't want to displace anybody.
But there's bleachers there.
Yeah.
There's these other places, there's
Facilities,
no
restrooms.
bleachers. So, you know, I don't care to talk to him about it, and we'll go from there. And maybe we need to coach for the coach at, the Little League football is not associated with the schools. It's an independent thing. They don't, you know. So I don't know, like he said, whether they will be open for the Little League football to play up at Ridgeview. They got gobs of acres up there for them to make some plays.
And that's what my concern was. They don't let or have not allowed, or for whatever reason, no other Little League sport plays up there. So
Uh-huh.
I can't really foresee them. If they open the door, they've got to open the door to everybody. I'm afraid. So that's why I've not approached them yet with that ideal.
School board meets tomorrow.
Do what?
School board meets tomorrow, 5 o'clock.
So what I'm saying is that the Little League football is real popular here in Clintwood.
Right.
Now, if they have to have that football field, because potentially that might be gone for them, you know.
Right.
We don't know, that might be gone. They used to practice out here at where the baseball field is.
Right.
So, well, it might be gone for them, so they may need to practice on the football field. But
Right.
I mean, I don't care to approach him to ask him myself since I'm in the Clintwood district, but I will ask him.
And you can certainly relay my information to him,
And
and
if
I'll
he,
reach out
like,
to
he's
him.
got a good suggestion, if that's not usable, we might consider Longsforth. The only thing I don't care is there's not good reception out there, but you're not far from, you're much closer to Clintwood there than you are down at.
Where
down
would
there.
you play at Longs Fork at?
Well,
You got
there's
two big fields back there.
out there.
Well, and
Well,
I do want to
She's
make
doing,
it
or they
fair.
were doing.
And
one
I don't know the
recreation
condition of
back there.
reception. Cell phone didn't probably improve, but they may have Wi-Fi out there now.
I know they do.
They do at the
No.
DSS building.
They have, they
Yeah, but I
have
thought they were gonna
Wi-Fi.
have it outside the building too.
Well, people complain to me that live up Snowball Hollow,
Okay,
they
I
don't
didn't
have.
know.
Yeah,
no
they do
cell-
have it outside.
They don't have
And
no cell
another,
service.
another
out-
place I thought of is at McClure, where the Little League field is, and then where the playground is. That grassy area from the playground over.
I do want, again, another issue with down there on the river is if you have somebody that wants to play in Hayside, they have to travel all the way over to Clintwood and then all the way through Clintwood and down on the river. So I would like to make it at least a little bit more,
Accessible.
yeah, I don't want to exclude any child. I mean, if they want to play and
Well,
parents work
McClure
till
is a
5.
good option, like
Yeah.
she talked about, because I'd say they have lights down there, Peggy,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which they could play, if they got lights down there, the Kiwanis has a big, is a big thing down there, and that's
got
probably a good
bathrooms, too.
better than Longsfork, really, because of, it being near to Hayside. People from Clintwood can travel over there, and I sure'd rather go down there as bump up down this road here, down the river.
And Aquinas has got those bathrooms
They've got
there for the
bathrooms
playground,
there.
plus they got bathrooms down at the building, the Aquinas building, that stays open all the time, so.
Mm-hmm.
Who would I leave?
McClure Kiwanis.
Yeah, but we kinda have an agreement with them, cause we have the track too,
Yeah.
so. And
The Little
so
League
the
fields
county
and
has
stuff.
some say a little bit.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
you
We have a
got a
lease
heads
with
up. that,
We're good
I'm gonna
friends,
be
yeah.
looking at
Yeah, we're
these
good
different
friends.
options,
Okay.
so it may be
We
coming
have
back.
that walking track down there and all that.
All right.
The second reason, the second capacity I'm here is Miss Kaiser made a visit to me down in Hayside. I work with Virginia Career Works, and she has distributed flyers of our program. I used to be here in the Education Center, and they relocated me down there to Hayside. And just a brief overview, I've come to learn that people in this county have never heard of us. But, we're federally funded, so we don't advertise. So word of mouth is how we're getting it out there, and we're now on social media. But you guys talk to people in the county. So these are resources that are available to everybody in the county. We have the WIOA, Adult Dislocated Worker and Youth Programs, that offer everything from basic career services to from resume preparation, interview tips and skills, all the way up to helping them get through training if they need some short-term training. We can assist with funding with that.
Great.
Then we have our ROPES program, which is targeted more towards those who have had some substance abuse issues in the past and are trying to get back out there. It's a very intensive sobriety program that they have to take part in. It offers alternative therapies that they can take part in. We have our whole sector case manager for that. And then we have the Reconnect program, which is targeted more towards people who are maybe had recent incarceration and are trying to get back into the workforce. And the ROPES program and the Reconnect program can pay things that the standard WIOA program can't. The ROPES and Reconnect can pay things like DMV fees. Like, let's say they've had their license suspended because of fines.
No kidding.
Well, in last July, the legislation changed. They can't do that any longer. They can't hold your license because you failed to pay fines. However, there's a DMV fee to get them reinstated. Well, if you don't have a car, don't have a driver's license, drive a car, can't get to work, how are you gonna pay that fee? So we can pay that fee. We cannot pay a fine, we cannot pay restitution, but we may be able to help pay that fee to get you your driver's license back, to get you back into a vehicle, to hopefully get you back working. So
That's fantastic.
those are 4 programs that we have.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but have you, spoke with we have a community work program coordinator in the drug court. Have you spoke with them? Do they?
Spoke with Morgan
Yeah,
last week.
good.
And I have reached out to Lisa. We keep in contact because sometimes you get so tunnel visioned in doing your work, you forget about
Yep.
outside resources.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No,
but
you're
that would be
fine.
fantastic for those people.
What about
He-
behavioral health? They could have this.
We reach out to them on a regular basis, reminding them that we're still around, that we haven't gone anywhere.
So where are you at? Where-
I am down in Case now.
At the old, what was the child care center there? It was,
Kids
Bank.
Central.
Kid Central
It
there.
used to be a
It
bank.
was an old Wells Fargo years ago.
Yeah.
It's across from BB&T. But if there's somebody from Clintwood that needs to meet me and can't get there,
You come
I
here.
will come to Clintwood. I will, we'll travel to them. We'll make it convenient. We'll do what we can to help them. It's a participation program, which means I don't have a hotline to employers and HR reps and say, hey, I've got this person. I'm not a placement service. They have to participate with me. They have to come in and do the job search. They have to, help me do their resume and things like that. But what I always tell them is I'll go 75%. They'll come 25% to me. I'll do what I can and help them out. But these are available. I mean, there's, of course, eligibility requirements that we have to go through, criteria they have to meet. But we'll assess anybody and we'll help anybody out that needs it.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I just we just need to get it more, you need to get more out in the public.
Well, she says she's federal and she's not allowed to
Well,
advertise.
I was going to regular ASAC meetings, Dickinson County Coalition Prevention, where I was networking with behavioral health and DSS, and we contact them regularly and send flyers to them. It's just, like I said, sometimes people get working and get tunnel vision and forget about these other resources. So, and then COVID shut everything down.
Well, I have gave Adam all of these papers, and he says he will put them on their county website in the morning to where we can go on that and then pick them up and share them to try to get the word out.
Well, those
you
things
know.
though, there's no excuse really for somebody not to take advantage of this. I mean,
Right.
There's a program through the workforce. See, I'm on a Clio member on the workforce board that they will help you buy a car.
it's crazy.
I mean,
Part of
and
the ROPES program, they do have.
yeah,
They do have the capability of helping you obtain an interest-free
Transportation.
loan to
Yeah.
get you a car.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Peggy, I interrupted you.
Oh, that's
You're not
okay.
gonna just go out here and buy $53,000. That we've had conversations about.
Oh,
But, it is limited, but they will help you do that. So,
Alita Spicer with the workforce tells me when I go to these Clio meetings that Dickinson County does not utilize their funding.
my goodness. Well, look at all this. I mean, we
That,
shouldn't have
you know,
anybody that,
I would like to see people that
A lot
know.
of people get their LPNs through Ridgeland.
Yeah.
I have a lot of LPNs on my caseload. I have a lot of RNs this year. I have a lot of coal miners, displaced coal miners
Yeah.
that are going for welding and CDL. CDL's a big thing. And power lineman training. So these are all things that we can help with, the short-term training that will upgrade their skills and get them out there and working.
I love it. Doesn't cost us a dime, either.
Is this something you can, how about, do you work closely with the school at their vocational
We
part?
go to transition meetings for individual students that are transitioning, graduating that have had IEPs. We keep in regular contact with them. Denisha Edwards is on part of our board.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean,
Okay.
they're very aware of it. It's just, for whatever reason, there's a disconnect, that, people forget about us. And then when people do find us and say, oh, you're the best thing ever to help me with mileage reimbursement, so that's another thing. We can help with mileage reimbursement for them back and forth to school. But they're like, we've never heard of you. But I know for sure I've talked to somebody that should have sent them my way. So, I think there's just, sometimes we get forgotten. We do have Facebook. We've got Southwest VA Works, and Southwest Virginia Workforce Development Board has their own website that they put these things on. Because 2 of those flyers came directly from their site, because I didn't have a copy of them. So I rented them directly from their site. So just keep that in mind when you're out there talking to people and they're talking about, they can't find a job. And I'm not going to make any promises. This is Dickinson County. Jobs are sparse. But, I not only limit to Dickinson County, I look. A lot of Dickinson County residents most times is they have to travel for work. We'll help them find something. We'll help them fill out the applications, do what they need to do.
Or even pay for some medical assistance? This,
In the Reconnect program,
Reconnect?
yes. Reconnect and Rogue, we can get them in contact if they have, some medical issues going on, some behavioral health issues, we'll put them in contact with a counselor. All the programs, we can do that. If it's somebody coming in, that wants to do a CDL program, but maybe their eyeglasses are so outdated, they're never gonna pass that vision test, we'll get them, we'll find a resource, or we'll pay for them to go and get them.
Wonderful.
A lot of times, you know, we work with the Yellow Wagon, because, you know,
I did put it in there.
Great.
we utilize our resources to help people get things without having to spend it.
I think it's fantastic.
Okay, taking up enough of your time, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thanks Peggy
Thank you,
for inviting her, that's great.
You want me to?
Well, from having been placed on this workforce board and then placed on this
Make a
one-stop
copy of it.
committee, I wanted the board to know what's out there, what I'm out here, you know, helping and trying to spread the word of what we can have.
Sounds good.
And if there's anything that we can promote through the website, you send it to us, we'll do our best, because we get a lot of social media coverage with our stuff.
Having calls? No calls, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Deal.
Hello, I'm George Steele, Mayor of Clinchco. I actually come over to ask, which I sent a thing over to David Moore, I believe he has it. It's a copy of like it's a business venture. It's like a little mini mall set up. It can be one big building divided into separate rooms, or you can build separate buildings and put old-timey western fronts on them, stuff like that. And the idea of it is for a startup business, for just somebody to come in to rent, low rent for $50, $70 a month, just to see if they can make it in that business. And then if they do good enough, they might want to expand and get them a bigger building. But what I was going to ask of you all is for, see if you could do me a letter of resolution for our letter of intent for a feasibility study for that business venture down there through Cumberland Plateau. Jim Baldwin suggested, you know, that would help us a little bit on getting the money for the feasibility study. And the more support we have behind us, the better off we'd be. And I talked to Larry earlier, and he wants me to. That's about all that is just for a feasibility, you know, a letter of support for a feasibility study to see if it would be feasible to build this project, which it really looks nice in the pictures when you get everything looked at and done.
But would the town be doing it, or a private business person? mean,
Well, the town would be the one doing it.
So they'd be constructing the facility?
Yeah, we'll be
Now,
constructing it.
I know we're slowing down on this because we're reaching a peak of the money we got, but the other thing to discuss with the IDA and Jim would be CPROP money. You might be able to get some help there because it's gonna be a county-owned and run, it's a town-owned and run thing for that benefit.
That's VCTA.
Well, it could be
Cumberland
that as
Plateau has
well,
CPROP.
but we're running low on CPROP, the CPROP's
Yeah.
Cumberland Plateau. All these agencies and that, and really the belly button's the IDA on all this.
Well, I had looked at that. It's a very interesting concept. I have no problem writing a letter to support you for a feasibility study.
Yeah.
I've tried to run it by the IDA, but I haven't been able to chase Mitzi down yet. But since Larry's already talked to you about the meeting, they have a meeting next Monday. So we get them behind it. I think at the point you're at, I think trying to approach it with, you know, both the board and the IDA supporting you, you know, you're looking at the CETA and you're also looking at the planning district to try to help. But I'd tell you anything that you need, like help writing something or putting some documents together, just let us know and we'll be glad to help you.
Yeah.
Mayor Deal, do you have any idea of where this would be physically located, what land would be used to construct that on?
it'll be, it's big parking ride land that we have down there right beside of 83.
Across from the post office there? Yeah.
across from the post office. It'll be real visible. And it can be run with electricity. I know.
There's sewer there too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sewer, you can get sewer, electricity, all to it.
Brick flat.
And,
Not
No,
across the
it's not
river.
Brick
at
Flats,
Flats.
it's right
Be on the right as you're going through
Yeah.
Clinchco.
where they park there.
But yeah, David said he'd write you whatever. So.
There's a guardrail there.
Yeah,
Used to have,
And then after, after you.
used to have a yard sale there.
We'll get the IDA, because you've already spoken to Larry, I'll talk to Mitzi. Beyond that, once it really gets to the point of trying to discuss the feasibility study, we'll both be glad to help, carry some ball there for you on that.
might be coming back here again shortly too for a little more back support because actually we're thinking about trying to implement a trail down there. With some of this AML, we're trying to do some letters of intent for some of them AML grants on where we're getting ready to reclaim it, biofield where they're gonna take it. And plus up number 9 where they done that. And I've done went through, Mr. Cancel over at, trying to get something going in that town besides that one business we got.
Sounds like you're moving stuff.
We're trying, Joe, we're trying.
Get you on the IDA over here.
But,
We have to move some. We gotta get some stuff moving too.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
anything we can help any way we can.
Okay, I appreciate it. And I understood your point on that, vehicle you was talking about a while ago. But I do want to compliment, I mean, that's a wonderful looking vehicle.
It is. It's sharp, isn't it?
It
It's
does.
nice.
It looks wonderful. And as an old truck driver, I can tell you, you'll pay for that Toyota in no time, saving in gas from that red truck.
Yeah.
But I appreciate y'all.
Well, good luck, and
Thank you.
you've got our support.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, I appreciate it. And if y'all need anything, you know
Glad-
where I'm usually at.
Glad you came, Jarvis.
I'll read the number one more time: 276-333-0357. Have any calls? That number's going across the screen too, isn't it, Adam? Okay. Well, anybody else here for public comment? Last call. Hearing none, I'll move on to item 10.
Do we need to move in second to close public comment?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I'll move on to item 10, other business. We have 10A, another resolution on the Trammell revitalization project. Seems like we've resolved something every meeting for 9 months on this. Has there been any shovels in the ground yet on anything?
They actually started, work down there. and-
Praise
They
the
moved,
Lord.
contractor moved in to start cleaning up one of those blighted properties last week.
Very good.
Yep.
Mr. Phillips, I may defer to you on this resolution if you want to
Thank you,
give us
Mr.
maybe
Chairman.
an explanation.
Mr. Chairman, the Davidson County has contributed a substantial amount of legal work to this project. I don't think that probably when it was first visioned that there would be a lot of work. Our office for the county has done probably a neighborhood 20, 25 title opinions. We've done other work that you've noted. And one of the things that is before you tonight, and I'll give you the reason why it's before you, this resolution. There were 2 blighted properties up there, 225 and Lot 17, that the folks at People Incorporated told me they couldn't get a hold of to get their consent to go in and remove blighted properties. We did letters to both of those owners and ran what is called a public notice in the paper trying to locate these people. Lot 225, the owners have been located because of that, and now they have given their consent for People Incorporated to go on and clean up Lot 225. That left us with Lot 17. Lot 17, the folks did not call People Incorporated, nor have they called us or attempted to be involved in the process. It has a very dilapidated site. It is a very dilapidated site. And as a result of that, People Incorporated felt like it needed to be demolished and removed. So there is a process, legal process, to give People Incorporated the right to go on Lot 17 and remove the blighted property. What this resolution does is it recites all the things that we've done, the county's done, to get a hold of and contact the folks on Lot 17. We know that they got a copy of the letter because it was a return receipt requested, and they signed for it, and the family member did, so we know they got the letter. And if they read the Diggison Star, there are 2 publications talking about Lot 17, that the county was moving forward with this ordinance for dilapidated or properties that need to be cleaned up, even if the owner doesn't consent. What that ordinance does is give them notice, which we've done, and the 30 days is run from the notice. And what this resolution says is that the county now wishes to go forward and have that blighted property cleaned up. And the way that will be done is that if you approve the resolution tonight, it authorizes the demolishing and removal of the dilapidated structure. The county building inspector has been there and found that it probably would endanger the health and public, and that's part of our letter and part of the notice that we put in the newspaper. And so with this resolution, you will authorize the demolishing and removal of the dilapidated buildings and structures up there. The second thing it does is authorize People Incorporated to use the HUD money to clean it up and not county money. So they will, and so I've got through Rick, through the building inspector help, they will cover housing, urban development, and also the grant application money can be used to clean it up, and the county will have no expense in cleaning it up. And so if you approve this resolution, that is what it will do. It'll clean up one of those lots that's really an eyesore in that community.
Thank you so much for that explanation.
And
know, Bud, you've done a lot of work on this.
It doesn't put no cost on that landowner either for cleaning that up, right?
Not if HUD does it, that's
Right,
correct. Or the housing, or the folks at, I want to say this right, it's the Virginia Housing Development Authority. If they use their money, there will be at no cost to them. Now, if we did it with our money, then we would be looking for reimbursement from the landowner, that's through a lien. But as a result of them using the housing, the folks that the Virginia Housing Development Authority money, I think, am I saying that right, Chris?
Trammell Community, isn't it?
DHCD, I apologize,
Yeah.
DHCD is the correct agency. And so his correction is right, but Chris, your building inspector has really helped us on that project. That's the other thing that probably you're not aware of, but he's got to be out there on every lot. He's got to be out there on inspections, he's got to do all kinds of hazardous material inspection. So the county has expended a lot of resources through the building department, and he's done a great job in getting this package ready. And our office, your office for the county attorney has put in a lot of time too.
I know you have, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I'll just second Ron's motion on that, that's fine.
All those,
That's fine.
all
That's
those
fine.
in favor of approving the resolution as stated and read, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well.
And as a footnote, Mr. Chairman, you'll probably like to know that potentially if this project gets finished, there might be at least 2 more phases. Possibility of 2 more phases up there,
Wow.
maybe $1 million each.
A major deal.
And they have met, I mean, they're working on these blighted properties, waiting on this COVID to where they can do things, but they have already met with a lady, I believe, maybe last Monday night, with house plans and options to possibly move forward in starting on a house. Oh, was there 2 of them? Okay. I knew that one. So, I mean, they are a little bit of movement.
Move on to item 10B. David or Mr. Phillips, anything on this?
VHD.
Well, we just got this agreement by email, probably yesterday. This is with the Virginia Housing. That is the state agency that we do our rental assistance program through.
That's that purple tag.
This This is just one of their services agreement. I think that Mr. Phillips has reviewed it, and if he agrees that it's appropriate, we just ask that you approve it.
It's a standard agreement, Mr. Chairman, as explained by the county administrator, and it's typical agreement that you've entered into before. And it provides for those kinds of grants, and it provides funds for your folks, funds to run the office, supplies and gas and all the things in there that it outlines to run the office. And it also pays for your employee who operates that office. This grant does.
They actually put, when we bought the last vehicle for them, $20,000 of the amount came from them. Actually, we just last week finished buying some telework things for Candace, and the housing paid for all of that. They have a grant that helps pay for all this stuff. So they're a pretty good partner, and all they require of us is to maintain an office and certain rules and accommodations, and so we do that. So this is just an agreement we need approved by the board.
Any further discussion or questions?
Motion that we do this agreement with the Virginia Housing and Development Authority.
Your second.
A housing choice voucher.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also.
Hey, I don't know if I can do this, Josh, but I had something for the attorney.
On that piece?
Related to what Jarvis did.
Go ahead.
And I'm sorry I'm late on this, but when Mr. Deal was speaking about the trail, it reminded me that back during the previous term, we had been working or asking to figure out how we can expand with VDOT, allowing people to travel further down the road with the four-wheelers. Because right now it just covers the town of Hayside, but it would be good if it expanded. This one may not be possible. White Ridge, and the campgrounds there or the marina. But the big one I think is possible is E&S Grocery and the JDM there could be, because that's a 35-mile-an-hour zone through there. I'm hesitant on the other two that I mentioned because they get into a higher speed limit. We were supposed to look into that, and we've been so busy with other things. I just thought maybe I should mention that because him bringing up the trail thing, which I want us to exploit all this.
Chairman, basically what I would recommend that the board do is to, if they have specific locations, is to go through your VDOT and with a request to do a feasibility study of doing those and make a recommendation and what needs to be done in order to clear that. And then the last time I was in the Virginia General Assembly, it required legislative action to add that to some legislation that's already been passed by other localities to give them the opportunity to use the public roads in these locations. And so
We already have it in the town of Hayside. It goes almost there, the Lazarus plant. I just was thinking because there's businesses down there further.
I would get it with VDOT. You got VDOT coming. When is Mr.?
Yeah, that would
Kennedy?
be
Next Tuesday.
That may be a good thing to
That's a
bring
good
up
thing.
there.
I would ask them for the protocol and how they wish to do that, how to proceed, but there is a way to do that, and there's a way to get that done through VDOT.
Yeah, good call.
Let me ask you all, would y'all want to take a 5-minute bathroom break or wait till closed session?
I'm fine.
Okay, all right. Move on to item 11, the comprehensive plan.
Our comprehensive plan is due for an update, but we had to go ahead and finalize the transportation section because part of our smart scale application with VDOT for that's for the four-way intersection project. One of the requirements VDOT has is that project be incorporated into our comprehensive plan. It'll help increase its score. VDOT seems to think this could be the difference between it potentially being funded versus not. I know this is a little bit unorthodox, but what we need is for the board to go ahead and approve the rewrite of this transportation part of the comprehensive plan. And this will be what will actually go into the final document, but of course the remainder of it is well, it's been in process for a while, but the CARES Act, COVID has put a lot of stuff on hold just because of time. Because, I'm also responsible for doing that, and we just haven't been able to get that thing done. It's 100 and some pages. However, this transportation section, Lehman and I worked on it. He was able to get VDOT and the planning district to approve that they thought the wording in it was appropriate for what they needed. And so we're just trying to improve our score, but we do need you to vote this in because this will actually be the part of the overall comprehensive plan that will pass sometime probably next year.
Any discussion or questions?
This smart scale project, you're talking about the four-way intersection?
Yes.
And that will be in our plan?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, we had to update this with the current information that we had. And as we said, we had VDOT and the planning district both review this to think if it had all the required information in it to help our smart scale score. They both said yes, so we're gonna try. We'll shoot it with this to see what happens.
Hey, I just wanted to mention.
And I know you push that. That's,
Yeah,
you
I
done
mean,
good
well,
doing that.
Shelby knows it's a scary place, ain't she?
Yes, it's a scary place. I don't know if I want a roundabout either.
Well, I know it.
When they put the elementary school there, it's even gonna be worse.
I hate
Well, it's also our
roundabouts.
smart scale
I like roundabouts, I like them.
I don't like them either,
I
Shelby.
like them.
Any further? Go ahead.
I
Ms.
just-
I
Wilson.
make a motion that we go
Oh.
ahead and pass
think
this
Ron's got-
transportation.
Wait just a minute.
Just,
Well, that's all
I
right. She
just-
can make her motion and
Yeah,
then Ron
let her
can
make
talk.
it.
Oh, okay.
She made the go ahead, Ron.
Did anyone second it? What
Well, no,
I
go
have to
ahead.
say is not gonna affect it. I just was gonna mention under airports, David, we also have the Brakes Airport, and they're in the process of, it's shut down right now, but they're
And I-
working towards expanding
And I
that.
will be glad to include that
Yeah.
later in the final revision, but for purposes of today,
I
I
understand.
need
We're good.
this to go to VDOT.
I'm
So we
good.
have a motion. Do we hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes for the comprehensive plan.
Just to let you know, last year, this project was on smart scale, but it failed because it didn't score high enough. So we're hopeful that with these changes and revisions, that this might help it score well enough to pass this time. Because this is really the only true smart scale project that the county even qualifies for. So we're hopeful we can get it done, be done with VDOT funds instead of having to use local funds for it.
All right, move on to item number 12. This is the transportation contract between
Yeah,
AACS, or
this is-
SC, I'm sorry.
This
and
is
Fort
an
County
annual
Transit
contract
Bus.
between the Senior Citizens Agency and Fort County Transit. Basically, it's to provide the transportation for students to and from UVA Wise, Southwest, Mountain Empire, and also the one that helps carry the citizens. Financially, it's the same arrangement we've had for the last several years. I'm assuming that Attorney Phillips has had a chance to review it. If it's legally okay, then we just ask for its approval.
It passes muster, Mr. Chairman. Leave.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
And I just want to say that I think this is a great thing.
It is.
It is.
When I was in college, that was when gas was like $3.90 a gallon. And so that bus was loaded down. Mike Strouth, I don't know if you all know him. I know Mr. Phillips does, but he was a professor at Mountain Empire, and this is how tight he is. He was riding the bus with us up there and back. And,
That's how we going other
but I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I would have been able to get the education that I got, but for Dickinson County supporting this. So you've got one taxpayer sitting here who benefited from this, and I'm happy to be able to vote for this. So
I make a motion that we pass this transportation contract with Fort County Transit.
I'll second it. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 As well. I know we deleted 13 or moved to 13. We'll go to 14, speed study
I
on Caney
think,
Ridge.
Josh, if I can interrupt you, or
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Kevin is here from, does
Oh,
he need
okay.
to
I wasn't
stay?
sure if we were, how you wanted to do that.
We're gonna take him to close
Yeah.
session.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
So
Let's just motor on.
14, Shelby.
That is my speed study that I have requested. I had a lady that almost got hit trying to cross the road to get to her mailbox. She's an elderly lady. And they requested that we do a speed study from Little John Kennedy Road out to Little Brushy Ridge Road. And I gave Teresa all the information, so we have to pass a resolution to that effect. And I make a motion that we pass the resolution.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of adopting the resolution for a speed study for DC County Ridge, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Resolution passes unanimous. Item 15, I know we've already had some discussion about that. I don't see 15. Yeah,
Yeah, it's on here, the soccer league. You think we should go ahead and pass it?
I didn't put that place in there because we.
oh, you did? Okay, I was looking for it. I didn't see it.
Well, I will defer to Mr. Phillips, but I would think, hearing what we heard this evening, if there's not gonna be a fall league and they're not gonna be using that property, then there's not really a reason to do this lease. Maybe over the next 6 months, we try to figure alternate solutions, other locations.
Is it an annual lease? I'm sorry.
It is an annual lease.
Well, the only thing I was thinking the spring, though, if they want to pick up
But
in the
we
spring.
could come back and do it just in the spring. And right now, it feels like the intent's probably not to have the soccer league down
So are we
there.
gonna table this?
Well, I didn't know
Well,
if,
you can either go ahead and prove it, which will lock them into place to have access to it if they would
don't
like
want
it,
them to be left
or
to
we
But I
can
thought
put
they
it
might
on
share.
Talking and-
We
later.
don't want you to be
What?
left no
Or we
place.
can revisit it in the
That's fair
spring.
enough.
My only concern is there a chance of losing it because someone else wants access?
Well,
no, we have the lease with the
no,
core.
we're the leaseholder with the core.
We're
We
subleasing.
sublease it to them for
Oh.
their use.
Okay, I got you.
So we
I
can
got you.
sublease it at any time.
That's all that's all I need.
Yeah,
We're
that's-
just trying to keep them active down there.
Yeah.
And right now, there's nothing to keep active, so
Well,
it's,
and
you
you
really
know,
don't
we
have
are
to have this
planning
now,
to
but
do
if you wanna
something
put it
in
in
the
place, you
future.
can, or you can revisit it later whenever we
Revisit it
know what we
later.
wanna do
Say,
with it.
I make a motion, we revisit later.
Yeah.
Well, let's just, I don't even think you need a motion for that. We need to
Yes,
just
you would have
table
to
it.
table it.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we table it to revisit
I'll
later
second it.
if needed.
And what we would tell you is if we can work out something or another arrangement, if we need to be involved, we will. If we need to come back and do this, if this ends up then in the spring, then we'll be glad to do that. But you're
Ms.
held in
Davis-
place. We're
Ms.
not gonna give it
Davis,
to
I
somebody else. It'll be still with you.
Ms. Davis, I'll tell you, we've got plans to try to fix the problem you identified, but I can't guarantee it'll come anytime soon. So it's good to look elsewhere.
Whatever you would need for this site, I'm speaking for myself, but I think everybody, we would support that, I think, if this place back here. But anyway, have a motion to table the lease decision. Is there a second?
Ron done seconded it.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Item 16, I had a brain lapse earlier. We are going to vote on this floodplain ordinance. Is there any other questions or discussion? I would be happy to let Mr. Rake come back up if you all want him to, or whatever.
I think he's already explained everything.
I agree, yeah.
I think so too.
I make a motion, we adopt the floodplain ordinance.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Have a motion and
It
second.
says amended floodplain ordinance, better put amended in there.
Any other discussion on the motion and second to adopt the amended floodplain ordinance? Hearing none, all those in favor of its adoption, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Motion passed unanimously. Item 17, I know we have, in addition, we have a 17A and 17B. Do I hear any motions on those pieces?
So you need a motion to go into closed session, right?
Yes.
I make a motion that we go into our closed meeting pursuant of Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A7. A Section 2.2-3711A7. 1 is personnel, or I is personnel. 2 is Dickinson County Social Service Board. And B is consultation with legal counsel. A, Waste Authority user agreement, and B, use of probationaries at transfer station.
Think that covered it, Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Here a second.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. We'll now be in closed session. All right, we are,
I wasn't
think
so
we're
old,
back
I'm
just
talking on
finishing
these
up.
songs.
we are coming back out of closed session. Go to item 18. I'd ask for a certification of the closed meeting. Somebody make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we only discuss those items that was previously made a motion to go in closed session for.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Ask for a roll call vote. Ms. Willis,
Yes.
Ms. Sluss,
Yes,
Ms. Kaiser,
Yes,
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
Yes for me as well. Go to item 19. Are there any motions coming out of closed
I'll
session?
make a motion that we approve the user agreement for the Waste Management Authority.
For 1 year?
For 1 year.
Yeah, it's in the
Yes, in the contract.
agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye as well, the user agreement with the Cumberland Plateau Waste Authority.
Mine's I didn't speak. I thought you was gonna do a roll call. Sorry.
Well, I'm sorry, if you'd asked for one, I would have, but I
I
didn't
did.
think it was
I was-
necessary.
I just sitting here
But it passed
looking at this.
unanimously. Any other matters coming out of closed session?
Table.
Hearing none.
Oh, wait, we said we were gonna table something.
I don't remember that, but
how
I'm,
about the tire shredder?
that
oh,
was,
I'm sorry. Okay, any other matters coming out of closed session?
Do we need to take a motion on that?
On that?
No.
Oh, okay, that's that's fine, then, I'm good.
We got our motion, I thought.
Well, I guess then, those surplus monies would flow back to us then at this
We
point?
may have to do something on that.
I think we'll have to either have, we either do a letter from the board, or Mr. Phillips and I will talk about how to approach it, but I think the county should request back their
The surplus
portion of the
money, yes,
surplus.
absolutely.
Yep.
I don't think we need a,
Since it won't be applied toward, the purchase of any equipment, we don't want the authority to keep it, so I think they should just return it to us.
we should probably do a motion on that, I think, to request the surplus monies.
I would recommend that.
Okay.
If it's the will of the board, I guess, but if it is, then we need to probably do a motion. Do I hear a motion on that, to request the surplus monies?
Rather someone else, but I could.
I'll make a motion that we request our surplus money back from Cumberland Plateau.
Hear a second?
No, I'm
The
Waste
authority.
Management Board, I'm sorry.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it with the understanding that we will revisit this in another year.
Any
Is it-
further?
Can I add that?
At any time later, you can. You can bring it up anytime.
Yeah,
You
you
don't
Or
have to
any
do-
time, or?
I don't think anyone's arguing that either.
Okay, all right.
I would say we wanna visit if things change immediately, if
It
it's
could
3
be,
months from
yeah.
now.
Well, I mean, that's, you just put that back on the agenda and,
Yeah, I
I mean-
agree, I agree.
all right, so we have a motion to request the surplus funds from the Cumberland Plateau Waste Management Authority that was discussed at the prior meeting that we discussed in closed session, and we have a second to that motion. Is that, we're all on the same page, right? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye also. Now, is there any other matters coming out of closed session we need action on? Hearing none, I will move to item 20, supervisor's comments. I know, Shelby, you don't like me starting with you. I just go from the right, but I'll go with Ms. Kaiser. We'll go left this time. Ms. Kaiser, any comments?
no, I don't think so.
Mr. Peters?
I think the ones I had, I'm already covered, or we're gonna cover it next week, so I'm good.
Ms. Willis?
I'm fine.
Ms. Sluss?
I only have a comment to make. I think the school board is supposed to meet tomorrow night, if I'm correct.
I believe so. They usually meet the Wednesday after us.
Well, actually, I don't have any comments to make.
It's been a long meeting. I appreciate everybody's patience and attention. Anybody that's listening or watching, there's some great services that Ms. Davis brought up with Virginia Career Works. Her phone number in the Hayside office is 865-7157, and she's also got her cell phone number. I won't read that out, but if you need it, our members have it. But that's a great
And it'll be on our website
great
tomorrow.
program, and that'll be on the website. But other than that, I don't have any other comments. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn at this point.
I'll make a
Do
motion.
you
we
want us
adjourn.
to adjourn, or do you want us to?
Yeah,
come back?
we've gone ahead and done all the notifications, so we're
Okay.
good. You can adjourn.
So we'll entertain a motion to adjourn at this point. Anybody wants to make,
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
all those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Two, three,
Aye
three,
also.
six.